Hi, we're here with Kerry Kramp, who's the President and Chief Executive Officer of Sizzler USA. Kerry, what are you doing to combat the tough times that we've been having for the last 2 or 3 years in the United States?
Well, I think the big thing for us is that whenever there's an opportunity for reinventing yourself in a downturn of the economy, you have to really kind of rethink exactly what consumers today need. So at Sizzler, we had a whole campaign about, we call it the We Get It campaign, because people were hurting, their portfolios were hurting, their real estate issues were hurting, they were worried about layoffs. So what we wanted to do is really kind of reinvent ourselves to focus on when people go out to eat, what do they look for? They look for a value because they need it. They look for a great ambiance environment to be with their families, and then they look for compelling food. So what we really try to do is differentiate ourselves from everybody else. And when we grew Hometown Buffet and Old Country Buffet, we grew it in the 90s during a recession because the landlords are more willing to talk to you during a recession than they may be when things are better. So we actually look at this as a huge opportunity. We have kind of a hermit crab philosophy. We're going to go into the restaurant locations on Main that maybe for whatever reason over-leveraged, too much saturated competition, and the store didn't make it. We can go in there, pay a lot less money to convert it, and then introduce our Sizzler style of food and service to it and kind of reinvent it. And our goal is to put people back to work, and as kind of funny as that may sound or cliche, we really believe that the small business is the group that's going to really get people back to work. So we've created a mission. Our mission is to put people back to work and do that by opening Sizzler restaurants where we can put 30 or 40 employees back to work and then have a great place for families to come and dine.
And you've had a very interesting career in the food service industry. I mean, you started, some 35 years ago when you were a wee pup, and you've had so many different opportunities and jobs and working your way up to CEO of several companies, and you've moved around the country quite a few times. What have you learned as you've taken your journey to end up as the CEO and President of Sizzler USA?
Well, I think one of the things that I learned most, there's two things that were my passion as a kid. I used to watch Julia Child and Graham Kerr and loved to cook with my mom, and so my passion for food, what I really learned over time was if you mix that with a passion for people, then you've really got a winning combination. So I think of all the things, whenever I think about, hey, this is a restaurant company that's in trouble or has a turnaround, the first thing I look at is do they serve compelling food, and do the people that work for them have a passion for the food they do and for each other. And so I think the biggest learning is no matter where you go or what you do, it always comes down to those two elements for me. If you've got food that kind of is relevant to today's consumer and you do it with people who have a passion that want to be in hospitality, you really can have a winning combination. And that's where most of the concepts I've been involved with that have been successful have started that way, and that really has really driven them to their growth.
And what do you think is the biggest difference between the Kerry Kramp of today and the Kerry Kramp of 16 years old when you were such a young guy and you started in the industry? What has the restaurant industry taught you, that the lesson that you'll never forget?
Oh, I think the difference is a little grayer hair. I don't probably go as fast, except in my mind I think I can still work 18-hour days, but I think it comes down to one thing. Whenever I visit a restaurant, I go into the dish room, and I don't go into the dish room because it's look at the CEOs in the dish room. I go in the dish room because that's the guy or gal that really knows what's going on. So I think the thing I've learned is if you trust in the people that you work with and you really kind of connect with them, they'll tell you what's really going on. And so I think there's an attitude about our business, and if you've got a positive attitude and you look to solve problems, because I think it's easy to identify problems, and a lot of time we'll spend a whole sessions talking about all the problems we have without an end in sight. So whenever I go into a meeting, I go into a meeting with the kind of the end in sight. I said, well, what are we trying to get it to do? I mean, I understand the problem, but what does it look like when it's solved? And then at least we've got a target to be able to go into. And I think, I was just saying this a little bit earlier, I think, when you think of the wise old man that's up on a mountaintop, he's not wise because he's really got smarts, he's just been around a long time. So I think more than anything else, if you stay in the industry long enough, get exposed to brilliant leaders, brilliant mentors, failures as well as successes, and you kind of take as much from the people that lose as the people that win, then you learn enough that you try to kind of take those best practices and put them into play, and that's exactly what we're trying to do with Sizzler right now.
And you've done a lot about giving back too to the younger CEOs and the younger leaders in the industry coming up.
I mean, because I think they're the same age. If I talk to a brand new entrepreneur, I look at them as if, hey, I could hang out with you and we go do something. So, but I think back to when I was young. I mean, Norman Brinker was a role model. I've had multiple role models from Frank Carney to Dennis Scott to John Y. Brown. So I've been very fortunate. And so when I think about that, it's not that you go in and say, listen, let me tell you how to do this. You really go in and just say, what are you thinking about? What things are driving you to do what you do best every day? And if I can help kind of prepare a path or tell them that, hey, if things look up and down a little bit, because it's the restaurant industry, it's going to be up and down, but sometimes just having somebody they can call every once in a while without an agenda, just have them say, hey, I'm just running into a problem, I just want to vent some things before I do anything with it. I mean, that's kind of my mission at this point in my life, is really to help other people that are trying to develop their careers find ways to give back. I mean, again, as I said, we got to put people back to work, and the only way to do that is open restaurants and get creative with what we're doing. So it's a good time.